I just wanted to get an understanding. Mr. Di Bartolomeo, in evidence to me at our last face-to-face, although I think I was the one on video conference then, you said you didn't believe Australia Post owed Ms Holgate an apology, but that you did think that the environment that was created through Parliament that afternoon and through the media thereafter created a set of circumstances that made her job and her life very difficult. I'm just going to ask for each of the board members whether they agree that Australia Post doesn't owe Ms Holgate an apology and that indeed it was the environment created through Parliament and subsequent actions that led us here today. Deputy Chair, do you agree with the Chair's evidence?
Yes, ma'am, I do. We did everything that we normally do in a professional board environment.
Thank you. Mr Orazio, Mario?
Thank you. No, I agree with the Chairman.
You agree that Ms Holgate isn't owed an apology from Australia Post and that it was the actions within Parliament that day that caused the issues?
Well, it was a very toxic environment that followed after that too. Not in isolation, but the events that followed subsequently.
What do you mean by toxic?
I thought that the cartoons and the talkback radio and the Twitter and the Facebook was just horrible.
Kicked off by the activities here in the Parliament, by the Prime Minister demanding that she go.
No,
Well, not so much the Prime Minister as Senator Kitching's questions, which she had every right to ask, but the subsequent events after that.
Senator McKenzie.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr McIver, do you agree with this statement? I don't believe Australia Post owes her an apology, but I do believe she's been badly treated.
Yes, I do, Senator, and I think it's it's sad that it's got to this stage, and we all saw between the 22nd of October and the 2nd or even later into November comments made by many people that maybe they would retract them today or would change them, and we've heard some of that evidence even this morning.
Former Senator Ronaldson.
Well, thank you for your question, Senator. I am a little concerned that we're sort of moving from asking questions to trying to take scalps, but I mean that's up to the committee themselves to play this out today as they want to. What I want to put on the public record is that what occurred was not of the board's making. The situation we're in today, this inquiry, media frenzy, a former CEO who's clearly suffering, is not of the board's making, and most definitely not where we want to be or ever imagined we would be. The moment Senator Kitching asked her question in estimates, and Senator knows full well why that was done and on whose behalf it was done, and the fact that it was a bit of payback. From that very moment, this thing got completely out of...
Senator Kitching will have her... Hang on a second, Mr Ronaldson. Senator Kitching can have her right of reply when she has her turn.
The point of order is under Standing Order 193, Sub-Order 3, that the witness is actually not following the standing orders of the Senate. And he should know them because he was a former Liberal senator.
Senator Kitching, we will come to you and you can have your opportunity.
No, I'd like you to rule on the point of order, thank you.
I don't think there's a point of order.
The point of order... There is a standing order, 193, Sub-Order 3. I just cited it. So please pay attention.
Senator Ronaldson, could you go back to the question that was asked? And Senator Kitching will...
And I have a limited time, so thank you for... I just wanted to go to the other board members. Ms West?
Well, I just need to answer your question, Senator. Because this was not on the board's making, it is not the responsibility of the board to apologise.
But I guess the second part of the question, the statement by the chair, was that she'd been badly treated. So thank you, Mr. Ronaldson.
But Senator,
Ms.
she
West.
had been.
Thank you, Mr. Ronaldson. I'm going to Ms. West now.
Unspeakably outrageous rort.
If you were in the room, this would be easier.
Hang on a
Rono.
second, Mr. Ronaldson.
Okay,
You don't have the call anymore.
Ms. West.
Thank you, Senator. I support the comments by the chair and my fellow board members. It is most unfortunate, the treatment that Ms Holgate has received during the whole series of events, from the evidence given on the 22nd of October right through until the point where she chose to resign, and even after that time. In terms of the role of the board, I endorse the comments made by other board members that we followed normal board procedure, and this was a series of events that played out as we all witnessed and saw. So I don't believe that an apology is warranted, and I agree with the chairman in that. I do, however, believe that we should all be reflecting on what led to the whole set of scenarios and where we now find ourselves, in fact, even sitting here today. Thank you.
Thanks. And just finally, Ms Wilmot.
Yes, thank you. I also support the chair and my fellow directors. It was an incredibly tough week, a very tough circumstance that arose in estimates, followed by the way the day and indeed the week emerged. The board did not. It was Miss Holgate who reached the view that her position was untenable. The board did not ask her to resign, but in the circumstances and given the week that had preceded, and the statements by public figures as to her position, it was difficult to take a different view than that her position was untenable, or it was easy to understand why she herself had reached that view. Thank you.
So I think that backs up the chair's evidence last time, was that the board, the chair, would love Ms Holgate to still be CEO had events not transpired as they did. So given the opportunity, how does the board feel about reinstating Ms Holgate, given she said she loved her job and the LPOs want her back?
Senator, I guess while I support the notion that we are disappointed...
Well, I'm using your evidence, Chair.
Yeah, no, we support the notion that she was a good CEO and we would have wanted this not to have occurred at all, but it did. The circumstances that have passed and we've moved on. And we have a new CEO in place, and
yes, I'm getting to that.
Australia Post needs to move on. It is bigger than any one person. It is more important than any one person, and the organisation as a whole needs to take priority at this stage.
Thank you. That's a lovely segue, Chair, to Mr Boys. It is bigger than any one person. 2,500 licensed post offices across rural and regional Australia back Ms Holgate as CEO because it was she who, for the first time in a long time, actually provided financial sustainability to their business models. Unlike former CEO Mr Verhoor, who many of you were board members during his reign, actively sought to get rid of the LPOs. My question, Mr Boys, really goes to the decision around perishable goods that you've backflipped on as an organisation. It was slated to start in March. It was then announced it was going to happen in June. You've then backflipped thanks to great community outrage and some good reporting. I mean, when did the board or when did the organisation make the decision to halt perishable goods for Australia Post?
Senator, thank you very much for that question. Perishable goods is a very complex legal web.
I don't have a lot of time, so I just need when did you make the decision you were going to stop doing that, and what was its Yep. When did you make the decision?
When we realised that it was a complex regulatory environment that we had to work through.
We've had 7 different versions
sending.
of food safety regulations for a long time.
I know.
You've been around as an organisation for equally as long time. You've only just worked that out now?
Correct,
Wow.
Senator.
Wow. Seriously, that's incredible.
Through the COVID period, a number of small businesses have had to pivot online, and we would love to support those. So any support that you can bring, Senator, or this House can bring, we are working very hard with the regulators. In fact, there's a meeting today with the Small Business Ombudsman that's happening right at the moment, and any support that you can bring, we would love to have your support
Boyce,
and any regulators.
Hang on a second, Senator McKenzie.
He's asking for my support. Of course I support
Thank you.
Australia Post posting organic cheeses made by farmers around the country. Of course I do.
It's the change of regulation that we would
Boyce,
like
you've got
your
it.
support.
But my
for.
question goes to the lack of consultation in making this decision. You didn't consult with the post offices that conduct that work and are actually embedded in communities, and you didn't consult with industry before you made this decision, did you?
Thank you, Senator. This is a regulatory issue. It's not a consultation issue. We would love to be able to do this, and if we can work through these complex web of regulatory issues state by state, with your support and any other support that we can get, we would love to revert to distributing perishable goods for small businesses of Australia.
So the BCG review, it was to consider broader market conditions such as the growth in e-commerce, the regulatory environment, and changes in business and consumer needs. Now, I would argue that the posting of perishable goods across this country fits all 3 of those areas. It's a growth space, meeting business and consumer needs, particularly as more Australians have moved online as a result of COVID, and indeed the very regulatory environment being exposed through this. So was it through the BCG review that Australia Post was aware that we have 7 states and territories all with their own unique food and health safety regulations?
No.
So what work did you conduct that actually made that apparent to you?
There was a separate exercise that was kicked off before the BCG review, I understand, with KPMG that did some work to look at expanding into food distribution. Obviously, it's very difficult with heavy investment in refrigerated vans, refrigerated cold stores, and maintaining that. And it was through that process that was revealed just how complex the food safety and biosecurity, I must add, it's also biosecurity state by state.
2 final questions. So we've heard a lot of evidence today about the temporary order being rescinded. Everybody that we've spoken to today wants that to end and for Australia Post to get back to business, shall we say, pre-COVID. What's your view on that, Mr Boyce? And if anyone other than the chair has a view on the board, I'd appreciate hearing it.
Senator, we are consulting widely to understand what is the best path forward on this, and obviously it's a government decision. It's not a decision for Australia Post. So, but the world is very different post-COVID. We are well aware of our dual obligations to deliver for the community, and that includes the letter service, the number of street post boxes, the number of licensed post offices that we're required to have. It's also a responsibility for us to deliver on our commercial obligations and not to become a burden on the taxpayer.
Well, thanks to Ms Holgate, you're making money for the taxpayer.
We're also aware of ensuring that we keep our employees in jobs, our LPOs in jobs, and the small businesses of Australia. But the fact of the matter is that letters have declined 3 times the speed that parcel volumes have grown over the last 12 months. We're now 314 million letters less now than we were pre-COVID in the same 11-month period. That is $314 million or a little bit more at $1.10. I'll let you do the maths on that, which at 10,000 posties is over $30,000 less revenue being delivered by every single postie, and a significant reduction of the bottom line of Australia Post. So it is a very complex situation that we work through, and we're consulting widely with where to go to make sure we meet.
So after all these words, Mr. Boyce, do you have a view?
Pardon?
After all these words, yes, all of that is fact. So what is your view on getting rid of the temporary arrangement?
Senator, I don't have a view. It's up to government to decide on that. I can only bring the facts, and then there are a complex
group of stakeholders. And so government would make the decision based on the facts that you provide them. You're an advisor to government around this particular issue. So what would be your advice?
I am only one person in the consultation process, and the government has made it. And the government has made it very
CEO,
clear.
Mr. Boyce, let's not be too cute about it. You're the acting CEO.
Thank you,
Answer
Chair.
Senator McKenzie's question, please.
We are one party in this. There is a complex set of obligations that we have to do.
With the union to take a joint position to government.
Senator Carr, thank you for the question. I think Ms Davies reported last time, and I reported that I hadn't, but Ms Davies reported that she had discussed with the unions that one of the options is to extend, along with new
so the
operational...
Answer is yes. You did seek a joint approach to the union, to the government, and the union knocked you back.
I'm not sure if they knocked us back or not, Senator Carr. I did hear Mr Murphy this morning made a similar statement.
Thank you so much.
Senator McKenzie, we are going to have to move on.
Communication. Just board members, if you had any communication with the shareholder ministers or a member of their staff on the 22nd of October, I'd like to know.
No. I can answer that.
No.
It's Jan West speaking. I have not spoken to anybody within the government on the 22nd of October or, in fact, at any other time.
And just final question. We've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about what parts of the BCG report you've seen, you haven't seen. Was the BCG report discussed at any board meeting that you've been in attendance, please? I'd like confirmation from board members.
Well, I'll start as Deputy Chair. I've been on the board since June the 27th last year. The BCG report has never been discussed, and neither has privatisation ever been discussed in any board meeting I have been in since June the 27th, 2020. As the feeling that I get from management is that the BCG report is old news. It was put together before COVID. The world has moved on, and we are now talking about the new Australia Post.
Stopping
and it involves the different topics that have been discussed various times.
Or a subcommittee of the board.
Or a subcommittee of the board.
They're informal meetings.
Sorry, I should have included board meetings and subcommittees of board. Thank you. Other members?
Sorry, Mr McDonald, you've got information on that, do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps if I can assist with that. Ms Staines joined the board in June last year. We had a board discussion that dealt with a draft of the BCG report in February of 2020.
Thank you.
Now, the directors may come to that, but I just thought I would clarify that point.
It's hard with so many videos.
Thank you. Ms Wilmot is desperate to have a say here.
Thank you very much. We had, as has been discussed elsewhere in evidence, a strategy meeting on the 20th of February, and BCG came and presented some slides to talk about their report. I would like to say that for those who had been on the board for some time, the report was actually quite underwhelming. And I would support Ms Holgate's evidence that she objected rigorously to the recommendations. The reality is that the report told us nothing new. We know that letters are declining, and we know that passes are increasing, and there's only a limited number of levers that can be examined. So we did not discuss the report ever, as to my recollection, after that meeting. And in fact, at that meeting, we appointed another consultant to do some detailed work for us.
Who was that? Who was that?
That's been canvassed elsewhere in evidence. It was McKenzie.
Okay. We'll get the terms of reference for McKenzie's contract, if we could, on notice.
Very, very well. Thank you. Senator McKenzie, can I just ask a follow-up, because I'm not sure we heard from every board member in relation to their communications from ministers or ministers' offices surrounding the 22nd of October. I didn't hear from you, Mr Ronaldson.
Well, you did, but I didn't identify myself. I said no, Chair.
Okay, thank you.